practice with me today. This week we're looking at yin. It's been a while since we did, so it's about time. For those of you who really like to move and sweat, this is a really good practice for you to do once in a while, where we're holding poses for a longer amount of time, you're still, and you're coming into really deep stretches. This particular yin sequence is going to be about the shoulders to begin with, and then we're going to move to the lower back and the hips. So let's start. You're going to need a block, by the way, and if you don't have a block, you can have a towel or a blanket that's rolled up that will suffice just as well. So let's start with the shoulders. I want you to come completely down onto your belly. We're going to come into this position. So as you're lying down, then bring your forearms to the floor with your right arm ahead, and have your block or your blanket in place just ahead of you on a low setting. This is going to be for your forehead to rest on. Now, as you come into this pose, turn your palms up and move your hands away from each other. So you're crossing underneath your chest. Find a position that suits you. Your elbows not too far towards your belly, but also not too close towards the block. And rest your head. And you might want to move back a little bit with your pelvis to the back of the mat. Just find a place that suits you as we settle in and stay here for 2 minutes. Now, as you do this, make sure that the block or whatever it is that you have supporting your head is at the right height, and stay a while. So what we're trying to aim for here is that you're separating your shoulder blades and stretching your upper back and all around your shoulders and your upper arms. If you prefer to turn your palms down towards the floor, please go ahead and do that. But find whichever position you want with your hands and stick with it. Let your fingers loosely curl, so you're really coming into that yin action of releasing your muscles as much as you can with your hands, your arms, your shoulders, your upper back, your neck, so you're releasing the weight of your head down, and bring that all down the rest of your body to your feet. Now, if you start to get pins and needles or numbness, feel free to slightly change the pose, move around a little bit so that you're in a position that you can sustain for about another minute. As you surrender down your body weight to help lengthen out and stretch your arms all around your shoulders. Having said that, if you feel like you need to press down your pubic bone or squeeze your legs, feel free to do that if you feel like it's necessary to support yourself. Now raise your head. We're going to come into a different pose. We will return to this and do it on the other side in a minute. So raise your head and move your elbows towards the opposite edges of the mat and come out. Now just move the block away for the moment. Lie back down onto your belly and reach your right arm straight out to the side, and really look at the hand and make sure that it's straight out, so that you've made a right angle with your neck, with your armpit. And bring your left hand to the floor. Now look towards your left hand and bring the side of your head down to the floor and roll onto the outside of your right hip. Press your right hand down. Now you can stay lying on your side like this, and you can choose to bend your knees if you like to, or pick up your top leg, your left leg, and place your foot so that you can see it a little bit in your peripheral vision. And move your left hand maybe a little bit closer to you so you can roll a bit more onto that right shoulder. Now you can keep this left foot here or step it to the outside of your straight right leg. You can move around a little bit here so that you feel you're in as a comfortable position as you can be. And if you feel like you could intensify this a little bit, you can pick up your left hand and bring the back of your hand around your lower back. Maybe reach a little bit more towards your tailbone and stay here. So in the previous pose, you were compressing your chest and lengthening your upper back. Now we're doing pretty much the opposite here, compressing your upper back and opening up your chest. Roll back to the extent that feels okay for you, and make sure that your head is in a position that's been placed on your mat. Not too far forward, not too far back. With your chin not too open, not too tucked down. You feel like your head can relax here. About another half a minute here. If you're feeling any pain again, please adjust. You can decrease the intensity of the pose here if you want to. You step your foot back again if you stepped it behind you. And then coming out of the pose, bring your hand back if it was behind you, come all the way onto your belly. And then we're going to come to the second side of the crossing under. So bring the block back close towards you. This time, make sure you've changed the cross of your arm, so the other arm is ahead, and reach away. So move your hands away from each other and bring your forehead back onto your block. If you're not sure if you've got the crossing of your arms right, it doesn't really matter. There's not a lot of difference between side A and side B in this pose, but do try and get it if you can. It should just feel different to the other side. Again, palms are either up or down, facing towards the floor. And let your head really be held by your block or your towel, whatever it is that you've placed it on. And move around into a position that you feel like you can sustain for another minute. Let your legs relax, your feet, your hands, your arms. And a few more breaths here. Make your breathing as smooth and continuous as possible, particularly lengthening out the exhalations. See if you can inhale for what feels like about 4 seconds and exhale for what feels like about 5. It's surprising the focus and concentration that you need to take on to do that. And when your mind gets distracted, keep bringing it back to that slightly longer exhalations. Now, raise your head. Bring your hands back towards each other. It takes a bit of effort to do this. Push the block away and extend and lengthen your left arm out. Take your time because we're going from one extreme to the other. Turn your head to the right. Press your right hand down to the floor and then roll onto the outside of the left hip. Again, you can have both of your knees bent and stay like this. Or straighten your left leg and bend your right foot. Place it ahead. Stay like that, or step your right foot behind your straight left leg. Adjusting all the while so that you feel like your head, your left shoulder, your left hip are pretty much in a straight line. And then with your right hand, if you want, you can bring it behind you with the palm facing away from you. And reach little bit by little bit your right hand a little further towards your foot. And then relax your arm. And relax both of your arms. You've got a little bit of yang work, strengthening, toning work going on here in the right leg, but only as much as is needed. You can even drop that knee down a little bit if you want to. Whatever works for you. Remembering here, the target here is the left shoulder and the right, more so than the legs. Rest the weight of your head. It's surprising how sometimes we think we are, but actually our neck is gripping a little bit. Really try and let that go. Again, come back to your breathing if you haven't already. Long and smooth. The exhalations a little longer than the inhalations. Having said long and smooth, not too long. Don't feel like you're having to really lengthen your breath. Just make it a comfortable cadence, a comfortable rhythm. But the exhalations that little bit longer. Now release the right arm and bring your hand to the floor. Roll onto your belly again. Okay, so we've done 2 strong yin poses for the shoulders and the arms, the chest. Now we're going to focus more on the hips. So from here, and the lower back, sit in the middle of your mat again. We're going to do a lying down twist. Now it's quite good to have the block or the towel, whatever it is that you have nearby. Put it on the left hand side of your mat. Bring your bottom into the middle of the mat and come all the way down with your head on the floor and cross your right leg over your left leg, completely over. Then pick up your bottom and move it over to the right hand side of your mat. Now your block is here as a rest for your legs. So from here, just pick up that left foot, move it over to the right, and bring your knee down onto your block, your top knee onto your block. Shift around so you're really on the outside of your left hip. Now, your block, remember, has 3 settings, so bring it up to the highest one if you need to, and you can even bring the block in closer so that the twist is less intense, and you can really let your right shoulder rest on the floor. Or you can bring the block down to the 2nd setting, or even the bottom one. You may notice as you go lower with the block that your right shoulder starts to come up off the floor. That's okay to an extent, but what I would really prefer is that you've got your legs resting on something and your shoulder is also resting on the floor. But you're still really in quite a strong tugging and lengthening in the right glute, the right buttock, and the right lower back. So find that balance of being a little bit propped up in the shoulder and the legs, but not too much. And then try and really soften down. Relax your legs. Make sure your feet feel like they're in a position that feels good. You might want to tuck them up a little bit more. That your legs are propped, but not too much. Release your abdominal muscles. You can turn your head to the right to complete the twist, or just turn your face up towards the ceiling. And let your arms relax and slightly bend your elbows. Press your elbows a little bit more in towards your body and let your hands rise up a little more towards your head. And let your fingers curl. Really let your shoulders rest now. You're just being here. What I love about yin is you're getting away from the busyness and the doing and the accomplishing and ticking off the to-do list. And this is where you're asking your body to be still. And you're then really aware of your thoughts. Try and keep that rhythm of lengthening out your exhalations. And be aware of what's coming to mind. So you're coming more into a meditative state of mind. Nothing to distract your thoughts. Be aware of what's important to you at the moment, what your focus is, worries, concerns, how you're reacting to staying in this pose. Let's come out of this side and come towards the other side. So press your hands down to help you bring your knees up. Uncross your right leg. Shift your bottom back to center and move your prop over to the right side of your mat. Try and replicate where you placed it on that first side. And cross your left leg over. And shift your bottom over to the left side of your mat. And start to tuck your feet up now as you prop your legs up. Again, try and come into the same position you did last time. Make sure you haven't got your body sort of bananaing around here. Try and keep your right hip in line with your right shoulder, more or less, and the back of your head. And make sure you're completely on the outside of your right hip. So your left hip is vertically stacked on top of your right. And again, the left shoulder is relaxing down towards the floor, perhaps completely on the floor, at least your left arm is. And bend both elbows, bring your hands slightly up. And loosely curl your fingers. Any last minute little adjustments you want to make them now, and then try and be still. Turn your head to the left if you want to, or just look up. Again, your breathing is loose, smooth, easy. Those exhalations perhaps a little longer. Try and relax your legs here. We do have a tendency in these twists to squeeze the legs, which is something that we're asked to do quite often in hatha and vinyasa yoga. But here in yin, we're really trying to release the muscular system as much as we can. About another 40 seconds here. Push your feet down so that you can bring your knees up. Uncross that left leg and shift your bottom back to center. Now our final yin pose is seated. So roll over onto your side and come up. And again, have your prop ahead of you. So bring that to the front. And we're going to sit cross-legged. Bring your right leg in front of you to begin with. Then we'll do it on the other side, but the right leg ahead first. And we're going to come into a forward fold here. I really recommend that you put a blanket or a towel underneath your seat. I don't have one with me here, but if I did, I would put it underneath my two sitting bones just to bring yourself up a little bit. Walk your feet away from each other so that your knees are right over your ankles. And have your block nearby on the highest setting. Bring your hands onto your knees and sit tall. Try and create a bit more distance between your rib cage and your hips. So you're really getting a nice bit of height. Then bring your block ahead of you and bring your hands onto your block. Now you might want to stay here. This is already quite a big hip stretch that you're getting. But if you have the range of motion, you could experiment with moving forwards a little bit, resting your elbows onto your knees. That weight of your arms onto your knees might be all that you need, and you might just want to stay here. And we're going to be here for about 1.5 minutes. But if you could possibly come forward a bit more, you can stack your fists on your block and rest the weight of your head onto your block. You may find that you can take one fist away. You may find that you actually don't need your fists at all, and you can bring your hands to the floor. And then from here, you've got the options of the block height to bring it down a level more. Some of you might even be able to bring your forehead to the floor completely. Whatever you're doing, in yin, try and relax your feet, relax your legs, relax your hips, then your shoulders, your arms, your hands, and make sure that your block is really carrying the full weight of your head. And stay here, letting the entire back body, both sides of your spine, down to both hips, lengthen and release. If you're again feeling like you're getting any uncomfortable sensations that are too much, numbing in your feet, pins and needles, please do feel free to back out of the pose, reverse that deepening process. And if you're finding it much too uncomfortable, one variation that you can do is lie down on your back and bring your right leg into a figure 4. And then you haven't got any body weight on that leg at all. Bear this variation in mind if you are aware of any injuries that you might have in the other leg when you come to the other side, if you're not doing it on this side. And we've got about another 30 seconds left. Whatever variation you're doing, try and be still. And again, come back to your breathing. I find that this practice, yin practice, is wonderful to do at any time you're feeling frazzled. But it's also a really good complement to an athletic practice. So often, young people in particular want to do vinyasa, they want to sweat, to move. This is a really good, mature practice, a way of becoming still. You could say more into that true nature of stillness, of mental focus, just being. Let's come to the other side. So if you're down, come up. If you're lying on your back, change the figure 4. If you're sitting like I am, lean back and bring the left leg in front. I've got quite a lot of space in between the groin and the calf here. So if you're tucking your feet in quite close to each other, try and avoid that. Bring your feet more towards the screen and a little bit away from each other as we come to the other side. So again, you can stack your fists, make sure it's the other fist on top this time, and rest down. Elbows on your knees, or you can just let your elbows move forward. And then again, you come into your depth. You can even move the block a little bit more forwards. If you find that you could come forward a little bit more, find your range of motion. Another tip here is if you're using a block, you can change the angle of the block so that
you're on the front edge of it. Really helps if your block is on your mat there so it doesn't slip away. And just be, just stay. This is our final pose. Try and let your legs, your glutes, all the muscles of your back, your abdominal muscles around your chest, your shoulders, your arms, everything, just let go. Your neck, the weight of your head. About another minute here, just still, quiet. Breathe into the discomfort. Just be with it unless it's too intense. It's numbing, buzzing. Then come out of the pose, lie on your back and come into eye of the needle. About half a minute more here. Now to come out, push your hands down, raise your head up off your block and come into Shavasana. Reach around for your towel or blanket if you have one, so that you can put it underneath the back of your head and around your neck, just above your shoulders. Lie down, lengthen your legs one by one down the mat. Tuck your shoulders under, make sure that your feet are turning away from each other and that your palms are facing up. Really rest here, and as you begin your Shavasana, scan from your head all the way down to your feet, really looking for any knots of tension you might be holding, and let them go. Breathe them away. Stillness, softness, and ease. About another minute here, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Now bend your knees, one leg at a time, bringing the soles of your feet to the floor. And roll over onto your left side, cradling your head in your upper left arm.
Push down with your right hand and then your left to bring yourself up to sit. Sit tall, sit with confidence. Ground down with your sitting bones as you reach the crown of your head up to the ceiling. Bring your hands into your heart. Lower your chin so it touches your fingertips. Now release your hands and bring your palms to face up as you rest the back of your hands onto your legs. Raise your chin, open your eyes. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me. Please do remember to subscribe. So hit on that button below and you can ding the little bell as well so that you're alerted when my new classes come up. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Keep coming back to Yin. It's a wonderful practice. A really good way to get a lot more flexible as well. I really found when I started doing Yin yoga about 12 years ago or so, it really enhanced my other yoga practice. I was finding a lot more open in my hips and my shoulders. So keep coming back to this and you'll notice that you really start to open up and build on that flexibility. Take care. I hope you have a good day.